I
What's going on, y'all? This your boy, Chris Simmons, coming to you with another podcast episode. And as always, I'm with my partner in crime. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Miss Sandra Cruz. What's going on with you, girl? How you doing?
Hey guys, how are you? Everything is good. Just recovering from some sinuses. So if you hear me, I can't breathe that well.
Oh
But I'm
man,
yeah. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It has been, man, I have just been living life for real. I've just been living life for real. So a couple updates about me that's been going on lately. I think I mentioned the last time I was on here when I recorded an episode, I had mentioned how I was going to go to Charlotte. I actually did go to Charlotte last, not was it last? No, 2 weekends ago. So the last weekend in January, I went out to Charlotte with my baby, and that was phenomenal. I had a great trip out there. Um, I've never been to Charlotte, so that was my first time. I will say this: every place we had in terms of food, like every food place we went to was the bomb. There are a couple hot spots in Charlotte. I definitely recommend if you like barbecue, pull up to Smackalicious. It's a black-owned business. It's a really, really good spot if you're looking for some barbecue. If you're looking for some good breakfast food, some brunch food, definitely recommend Easy Like Sunday. That was the bomb. Me and my baby, we were like, when we had the food, we were just looking at each other, we were like, man, that food was so good. So I definitely recommend y'all looking for some food. Hey, go to Easy Like Sunday. Um, and yeah, like so that's basically like some of the things we did. We went to a couple restaurants, walked around the city, for a little bit, got to see some different attractions. So yeah, that was a cool trip. And then last weekend, what did I do last weekend? Last weekend I went to this place called Iron Age. It's like a Korean barbecue. Really, really good food. That meat was phenomenal. So if you're like a meat eater or a meat connoisseur, that's a place you want to go to because it is really, really good. The concept is they basically bring you out raw meat that's already seasoned. And all you gotta do is basically put it on the grill that's like at your table, and you just cook it. And
That's
that
how
was
that's how a lot of I've been watching like I don't know if you watch Asmar, but I watch a lot of like I watch this one girl who cooks Korean food, which I absolutely love, and it's like an Asmar, and then she eats it. And a lot of how they cook is really like that. Like the she had like a little fire, like a little stove in the middle of her living room, and she would just sit down and cook like all that meat, prepare it, and then put it over. So Korean food's actually good. It's very quite different from what we're used to eating in terms of how we eat because we eat with everything kind of like mixed, and they kind of separate their foods and they eat from different plates, which is really cool. They also have a Korean barbecue here. It's expensive, but it was really good.
Mm. Yeah, no, like this place we went to, it was like $30 a person, but it was like
Oh,
all you can eat. So
ah,
it was like literally like they just kept bringing meat out. It was like the waiter like kept like he was like, y'all want some more meat? Y'all want some more meat? Y'all want some more meat? I was like, dang, bro, it's like slow down a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
But
yeah.
I was definitely full. Like I was definitely full for a few hours. Like I was like I couldn't even eat no more. That's how full I was. But it was so good though. So if you're in Atlanta, I definitely recommend going to the Iron Age. That's a really good spot. And then this coming weekend, me and my baby, we about to go travel to Augusta and check that out. So we are a traveling couple. That's one thing I really love is how she loves to travel. I love to travel. Definitely seeing like different parts of the world, which I feel like you should. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if that's what you like to do, who's saying that you can't go out and travel? You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like there's so much of this world we can see, but we feel like we got to stay in one spot. It's like, no, if you want to go to another country, go to another country. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, that's one of my things this year is like I want to, be able to see some more things and just kind of get a feel for like different areas and stuff, try different things. So I'm definitely like trying to move. Like I'm on the move. Um, but no, it was great. Um, But anyway, we're gonna get right into the episode, and it's crazy how sometimes you have an idea, but then it kind of gets shifted. Um, you know what I'm saying? Just based off, some things that you may come across, and sometimes you feel like, okay, like maybe this is worth mentioning. So before we did the episode, before the episode, me and Sandra were having a conversation, and it was like real interesting, because we both noticed there's a lot of like crazy stuff that happens in the world. It was funny because I had asked her, I said, because she, for those of you who don't know, she's in Puerto Rico, and she was dealing with her allergies because apparently there's like black dust out there, which caused a lot of people to start sneezing and stuff. And I was like, I just jokingly said, well, maybe you should just move. She's like, nah, I wouldn't move back to the States. So I'm like, nah, I wouldn't do that. I was like, it's just so much going on, and I can't blame her because being here in the States, it's just I see a lot of things that have me question, like, why is this happening? You see what I'm saying? It's like just a lot of, what she mentioned is a lot of division. Like, what are we fighting for? You see what I'm saying? Like, why are we operating as an individualistic society? Why are we doing that? You see what I'm saying? Like, why are we arguing about things that don't matter? Like, that shouldn't matter, such as racism. Like, why is racism a thing? You see what I'm saying? Like, why is it that we got to be separate from each other when God created us all to be here in this world? Why is it that we have to take this individualistic approach and be like, oh no, this is me, this is all mine, blah blah blah? Like, why I can't work with nobody else, like, because of their skin color, because of the way they dress or the way they act. It's like, bro, like, why are we having this individualistic approach toward other people? And I mentioned this one time. It's so funny how you can live right next to somebody and not say anything. Ain't that crazy? Like, you can live, literally see somebody in your neighborhood, because I see it in my complex. It's like you could be in the same area as somebody. Like, y'all could be neighbors and y'all don't say nothing. Why is that? You see what I'm saying? It's just like stuff like that. It's like, like, it got me questioning. Like, at first I thought it was just like, it is what it is. But then I started realizing, like, why are we doing this? You see what I'm saying? Why is it that as a people we don't speak to each other? Why is it that every time the election comes around, everybody always uptight, talking about, oh, you need to vote for this person, you need to vote for that person? You see what I'm saying? Why is it that, again, like, it's so hard for people to at least like be in to be able to manage like a sustainable lifestyle? Like, why is it hard for people to afford different things and things of that nature? Why is it that, it's just so many whys out here.
I love how you said why, and that's the biggest question. There are so many, what's that called? So many reasons why, like, that are all combined: culture, financial situation, just so many things, government, so many things that have or an implication on the question why.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like, if I can just share my experience a little bit, he asked me, well, why wouldn't you want to live here? And I said, it's not the same. When I was growing up, and it was the 80s, yes, my birthday's next week, I'll be 43, it was different. Like, there wasn't such a division. And maybe perhaps because we weren't seeing some of the things that were going on, and they always were consistently going on, we just weren't privy to it because we didn't have the technology. And now we see it. But I didn't grow up like that. I grew up when the lights were turned on, then you would go home. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have half the things. Um, and there was a sense of more community. Like Chris said, why is it that you go outside and your neighbor doesn't even say hi to you anymore? Um, and I'm wondering, is it a cultural thing? Does that happen? Because here I have a strong sense of community. And my neighbors are always good morning, good night. But then that's something we just generally do here. And it's funny because I do Uber part-time, and I've had a lot of clients from the United States say, I've noticed you guys have a real big sense of community here. We don't have that where I live. Or for someone to tell me that and just observe it is crazy. It's crazy. And then you turn on the news and you see it even more, with everything that's been going on.
I think what's going on is that, and again, I'm just going to be scratching the surface today. You see what I'm saying? I'm just going to be kind of scratching the surface. One thing that I realized is that there is a bigger agenda that's being pushed, right? There's an agenda. For those of you who may not understand what's going on, this is a part of an agenda.
Yeah.
That's keeping us like this. That's keeping us distracted from, basically trying to be who God has called us to be. That's what's going on. There's a lot of things that is being pushed that I don't agree with, right? As somebody who, is a believer of God and understands principles of the Bible and understands the true meaning of it. It's like there are things that's being pushed, and you know what those are. I don't have to explain them. But if you pay attention, there's a lot of things that try to keep us from the truth. And sometimes we can be deceived in a way to think like this is normal, like fighting with your neighbor is normal. Like, oh yeah, we supposed to just, we supposed to basically stick a water hose in their mouth until they start to suffocate. We think that this is normal, like trying to fight with our neighbor or trying to, basically go out and pay bills or try to worship money, worship cars, worship houses and stuff like that. We think this stuff is normal, but this is all temporary. Because once you leave, you can't bring that with you. You can't. So a lot of people think like their purpose is to have a big old house, a nice big old car, all this money, all this fame. And again, there have been influences, and you know what those are. There have been influences that have made us think that this is what we're supposed to do. This is what we're supposed to worship.
Right. Like this is what reality is supposed to be.
Exactly.
And to be honest, that's not reality. You can want those things and it's okay to want those things, but what is your purpose in all of it? Where, you know what I mean? Like, what is your real purpose? Because having the house and the home, I think further than that, I think we've all been in a daydream to believe that this is what you're supposed to be doing with your life. Whereas you go to school, get out of school, get that job, get the white picket fence, get the husband or wife, get the kids, and then work for the rest of your life in the same job. I think we've been daydreaming and not really taking care of what really needs to be taken care of, like our inner selves, to be able to see the difference of, okay, what is my purpose versus just those things. Or going into a society where they're canceling everything, and what was once right is now wrong, and what was wrong is now right. I mean, there's so many things that I can touch upon that. I mean, but how did we even get there? Why are we there, and how do we get back to really fulfilling our own lives with like real purpose, real love, real purpose, real being, real standing, to say I'm here, I love where I live, what I do, and we stop all the division and the things that are going on. How do we it's just, for me, it seems like it's so out of control, and with what happened with the FedEx worker this week, it's blown my mind.
Right. And I'm so glad like you kind of brought up those questions, right? Because that leads into like what the title of this message is supposed to be about is called Being the Light. I know some of you guys have read this, and internalize this. This is, in Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16, where it talks about the salt and the light of the world. And we were actually talking about this on Sunday when we had an in-house service at somebody's house. And, everybody, people like internalize scripture, differently. But I wanted to reference, being the light, because I feel like a lot of us, who do understand who God is, and I was like studied the word and things of that nature. I feel like, again, like this world can be a dark place. And I feel like, people who do see the truth and see what's right, we have to be able to stand up against some of these things that are not right. You see what I'm saying? It's just more of like a call to action. When you talk about being a light, being a light is like being able to bring people together as one, as members of Christ. We have to come together, right?
Right.
We can't necessarily like sit back and be okay with some of this stuff that's going on out here. You see what I'm saying? Like if you see something, it's basically like if you see somebody getting beat up, you just walking away. It's like, yo, it's like if somebody in trouble, what's your natural instinct? You have to be able to go rescue them, man. You have to bring them out of that trouble. So again, it's just like, when I talk about trying to be the light, and again, I'm just going real surface level for the sake of time. It's just like being able to just wake up and be like, yo, like, we don't have to live like this. We don't have to live in a dark place, in a dark reality. We don't have to do that, right? We can bring people to help people understand, like, look, like, for example, just being able to go out and have a conversation with somebody, that's in your neighborhood, and to just be able to tell them about, okay, like, yo, like, how you doing today? Like, what's your name? Like, just kind of getting to know them, you know what I'm saying? Just like doing like little things that can basically bring light into others, and trying to create that unity, which is what this world does not want us to do. Because
You know,
if you think about it, I'll finish my point right here before you go. If you
yeah.
think about it, why do you think these people, when I talk about these people, I'm talking about the people that's basically running the show, the people that you don't see is the ones that you should be concerned about. The people that you don't see that comes up with all the rules and regulations of the world, why do you think they put images or they put propaganda in place to make you feel like you can't associate with someone or something? And if you do, then you're labeled as this. Why do you think they do that?
It's funny that you say that because there's been studies that show that they do this invertedly, so to change the way you think about a certain, even simply, I could just say like Vicks, the way you look at this Vicks bottle right here, this is
Mhm.
propaganda. So when you see the commercial for Vicks, you see that they're soothing the little child or they're putting it on the chest so that and that oh, Vicks works to heal. So let me go buy Vicks. So they do it to steer your opinion in a certain manner. And they do it, of course, with politics and everything else. Um, and so it's interesting to see that. And you mentioned, like before that, before mentioning that point, you mentioned how we need to come together to have unity. And I think, Chris, that it all starts within ourselves. Each one of us has to become self aware. Like we mentioned before in our conversation before we got started on the podcast, you have to be self aware. What am I doing? You got to wake up and purposely say, okay, what am I bringing forward to the community today? What am I bringing forward with just being me? We're not saying go out there and spend $1,000 or give 5,000 to some community program or anything like that. What we're saying is it starts with you, starts with your self awareness. Wake up. When you walk out, say hello to your neighbor. When you go to eat, tell somebody bon appetit. I mean, we do it here in PR. We tell people all the time in Spanish, buen provecho, meaning bon appetit, enjoy your meal. It's as simple as those things. And when you start giving that to people, you start seeing the energy come back to you, that same energy. But do we want to wake up in a dark, gloomy energy every single day? Like, is that something, you have to ask yourself that, but it starts with each individual person. And it's just that simple.
Yeah. And I think one thing we have to understand is that we have to learn how to embrace our unique selves, right? I think that's what we have to do is just be able to embrace who we've been called to be by God and not by the world. The Bible talks about how, Romans 12:2, not to be conformed to the world, right? So a lot of these things that we think are like, oh, this is how we're supposed to live. A lot of that, can be misrepresented. Think like, for example, it's like, you may think that God's purpose for your life is to live in a big old house and drive a nice car and have all this, have millions in your bank account, have all this fame, walk the red carpet at the Grammys or whatever. We thinking like, okay, this is what, when we get those things, we tend to think that this is God's purpose for our life. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes it can be taken out of context because the world has been conditioned to think that this is what success looks like. This is what our life is valued of. When our life is so much more than a paper dollar. Because if you think about it, we always think like, oh, if we got money, we blessed. Eh?
Are we really?
And this is like,
Well,
and this is where,
yeah.
again, when you think about it, what's money really worth? Because all money is just paper with numbers on it. If you really think about it, money is just paper with numbers on it. So does having money mean that you blessed, or the fact that God forgives you of your sins? You see what I'm saying? Or God allowed you to be alive and wake up the next day. You see what I'm saying? So again, I feel like we put our attention in the wrong things, right?
Yep.
We think that our life is valued based off how big our house is, how big our car is, but it's not. You see what I'm saying? God puts value on your life, right? Based upon, he allows you to live based off his grace and his mercy. You see what I'm saying? Because the Bible also talks about how we need to be fishers of men, right? And to be able to, help guide people and lead them into the direction that he called us to be in. You see what I'm saying? And sometimes when we don't, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having those things, right? There's nothing wrong. Like if you have a house, a big old house and a nice car, there's nothing wrong with having them, but just be careful of how, you value them. They should not be valued over the salvation that God has over your life. That's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? They shouldn't like basically be the reason why you are successful. Because sometimes when we do get those things, we tend to think that, oh, man's gift is the reason why we made it. Like then we start to think in this individualistic mindset to where it's like, oh, I did this. This was all me. Like I'm the one. I'm a self-made millionaire. I'm a boss. Blah blah blah. But then we forget who's the person that allowed us to be able to have that, because that can be taken away. Because
Oh,
once you leave, once your time is up, you can't bring none of that with you. You see what I'm saying? You can live it. That's why, again, sometimes you can be rich, but are you saved? Is the main question. You see what I'm saying?
riches doesn't really equal to happy or anything else. It just material riches. You may have worked for it, but like you said, did we thank God because He allowed us to have those things? Do we have that attitude of gratitude, or are we just kind of, I don't want to say selfish, but yeah, kind of. I mean, or are we just thinking that, well, this is what I got, this is what I can? I think that, like you said, it switches up our mentality to becoming individualistic. Like, I did this, I did, when in reality, you know, it was given to you.
Right. And I feel like when we do, operate in our purpose, because again, you know, we do all have gifts, that allowed us to be able to potentially have man-made things on this earth, but don't get distracted by those things to where it takes your attention off the real reason why you're doing what you're doing. I can use me as an example, like, for me, like becoming going into this new journey into becoming a fitness trainer. I had to really think, like, why do I do this? It is not for money. If it's money you're thinking about, you can get that back. But it's more or less trying to help people to take care of their body, which is a temple, right? Because again, your health and well-being is very important. And so it's not necessarily, okay, I'm trying to do this just to try to get people's money. It's more or less trying to show people, like, look, by honoring God, you got to also take care of the body, which He has blessed you with. And some people don't realize that. You know what I'm
I
saying?
think I think, sorry to interrupt you, Wordsworth, but I think it's so true what you just said, because people live in a daydream. People live in a daydream and they go in and out. Oh, tomorrow I got to handle this. So they wake up and it's boom, 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 boom. But never do they really sit and realize how blessed they are, nor do they sit and realize about their inner environment and how important it is, because taking care of you is that. It's taking care of your inner environment. It's you inside there. You look through these eyes, you hear through these ears. It's you inside there. So when do people stop and say, I'm going to take care of that?
Mm-hmm.
So that they could be emotionally fit, emotionally stable. That doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen to you, but when they do, you're ready to handle them.
Exactly. And you also got to think, like, there's a lot of people who have a lot of influence in the world that we live in. You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of our entertainers and athletes and all these people have influence. So it's got to think, like, why would God put you in that position? So a lot of us take it as to where it's like, okay, we're going to use that influence. And sometimes we may not know we're doing it, but sometimes, we got to think, like, when we make a song, or, when we, make a post on Instagram or whatever, we got to think, like, okay, is what we're doing, is it honoring what God called us to be there for? You see what I'm saying? This is where you got to really do some deep work. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of people let that influence go to their head to where they may think they're leading somebody down the right path, but really it can be a path that can lead to destruction. So it's like, you got to think before you act. Make sure you think, is what I'm doing, is it going to influence people in the right direction, or is it going to lead them down a wrong path to where they're thinking, like, this is what I'm supposed to do? You see what I'm saying? So it's like the power of influence. You see what I'm saying? And again, not everybody is perfect. I'm not saying you got to move. I'm not saying you got to be perfect in what you do, but you have to be purposeful. Let me say it
Yeah.
again. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be purposeful. You have to know that if you're in a power, that you're in a position to influence thousands or even millions of people, you have to move in a way to where you can move with purpose and move how God told you to move, versus moving in your own direction and leading people to thinking that this is the right way. Because again, we see a lot of that in today's society. That's why people can get influenced to do certain things, that are not of God, or not, or can lead to destruction, which is why, again, I contribute a lot of this negativity that happens in our world because of the influences that are around us and the propaganda that is around us to make people think that this is the way the world is supposed to be when it's really not. You see what I'm saying? It's really not. So again, it's just knowing how to move with the power that God gave you. You see what I'm saying? To lead people in the direction that He's called people to go into instead of the way you think or in your own direction to what you think is right, because that can lead to a dangerous path. So again, I can go real deep into it. I really can, but we are just scratching the surface. I'm just trying to get you to think, right? I'm just really trying to get you to think because again, there's so much I can do. And it's just really just dropping like, just kind of dropping like little nuggets to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is okay. Like, maybe like I should like, kind of figure out, okay, what is he really talking about? Maybe doing your own research. You see what I'm saying? So again, just remember, you don't have to be perfect, but just move with a purpose is what I'll say.
I think the last thing I just have to say is exactly the same, except in different words. Moving with the purpose is what you have to do. Working on that inner environment is one of the best things that you could ever do. And only then will you understand how it is to work with purpose. Um, Working with purpose doesn't mean, well, I have a purpose, setting a goal and then reaching that goal. Yes, we know that's the general term for purpose. But when we say on purpose, meaning doing things on purpose, working on yourself because you want to, because you feel the need, then and only then I think you'll start to discern the right from wrong and start to really go on the path that you were called to be on.
There you go. See that's what I'm talking about right there. So again, like I say, man, we come down on like 7 minutes, 30 seconds.
I love it.
Yeah. But again, like I said, it's just, this is mainly just to give y'all something to think about. And again, if you didn't take anything from this episode, just remember this point right here. And I always like to say this, just give y'all some like a thing to take home with you. Just be the light in your community, man. Like if you see something that is wrong, don't sit back and just let it continue to happen. You gotta stand up. Stand up for what you believe in, man. Don't let these people try to compromise your values or beliefs, you know, and make you think like this is acceptable. We got to stand up as a people. We got to stand up. We can't keep taking this. But again, it's like, I think like if you think about the reason why we feel the way we feel about certain things, who gave you that narrative, right? Who gave you that? It's not your neighbor. Your neighbor trying to pay bills, or you paying bills. But you gonna argue over some you gonna argue because because they grass too, I mean they grass too long or something like that. We gonna get into like these petty arguments with our neighbors over something that we have no control over. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think like who is giving you these frames of references when it comes to racism, when it comes to politics, when it comes to this and that, when it comes to so-called reality, like when people mention how what the real world is, like who gave you that? So again, it's like you got to think like it's not the people that's around, it's not your neighbors, it's not the people that's going out and doing what you do every single day. You have to think it's something that we're not seeing, and so we can't continue to sit and watch the news or watch whatever and be like, oh man, they doing this again. Oh well, I guess like we should just not do anything and just let it keep going. No, as a people, we had a power. If a million of us came together and said, you know what, we're not gonna put up with this stuff no more. What do you think gonna happen? Yeah, just think about it, man. Just think about it. All I'm asking you to do is just stand up for what's right. That's all I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. Just be on the right side. You see what I'm saying? And
Yep.
again, if you do that, man, like I said, you'll be surprised with your influence. You can really stir people, in the way that can lead to the truth. So that's all I really had to say, man. We coming short on time. I'll just remind y'all real quick. Follow us on Instagram at Disinfect Your Life. That's no space, no capitals. Also follow my girl Sandra on Instagram at Complete Confidence Coaching. Definitely go check us out, man. And keep up with us, man. And keep up with all that we're doing. Like I say, man, we're gonna be dropping some bombshells. We just trashing the surface for the day. You see what I'm saying? But we gonna definitely bring some things to y'all attention to get y'all to think more. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, that's what we're gonna try to do for y'all, man. Just try to give y'all something to really resonate, really like just sit and marinate on and be like, okay. But yeah, so like I said, go check us out on social media. And then for me, check out my fitness page at Big Boss Training. So again, that's Big Boss Training. If you're looking forward to get some sessions, I got y'all. If you're in the Atlanta area, hey, listen, hit me up. If you are not, that's all right because we got Zoom. So that's all right. So that's all right with me. But anyway, man, that's a wrap for today's show. This your boy Chris Simmons alongside my partner in crime, Sandra Cruz. We out.
Bye.
Peace.